Hello, welcome. It's your boy, and we're gonna do in this video. I'm gonna go over some of the images that I took this year in 2023, some astrophotography pictures. So I also uploaded another separate video that is literally just the pictures, and yeah. So this is a more technical version. I'm gonna go over again some of the details that went into making some of these images for you nerds out there who actually care about any of that. So. Without any further ado, let's just go ahead and let's dive right in. Oh, and quick disclaimer over here on the laptop I got, the telescope is running currently, so if you see me looking over at that, that's why. Anyway, so the moon, not much else to say about it. This was shot with my recently acquired, then at the time, AT80 millimeter refractor with the planetary camera, the 178 MC. About 1 or 2 minutes stacked and sharpened, and turned out pretty good. As you can see here, pretty sharp picture of the moon. You can zoom in, see all the cool craters and stuff like that. Moving on. I'm going to be going fast here because there's a lot of images and I don't want to talk forever here, so apologies if I skip over anything. All right, here's M101 Pinwheel Galaxy. This features the supernova SN 2023 IXF. So if you zoom in here, of course, we got the galaxy. Then within the galaxy, there's this bright blue star here, and that's actually a supernova in another galaxy. So think about that for a moment. You are seeing a supernova in another galaxy. Kind of insane. Some of these images you can look closely and see here. There's lots of background noise. These are usually processed in Deep Sky Stacker and Serial instead of PixInsight. So I learned how to do PixInsight over the course of the year. So some of the noisier images that you see are generally images not done in PixInsight. Not to mention this was not a ton of data because this was just the supernova was making headlines. So I had to just get a picture of it, of course, and it turned out pretty good. There's lots of better images, of course, out there, but this one I think is okay. All right, moving on. This is my first ever DSO image, the Orion Nebula, and this is the only image I took this year without the 533 MC camera, a dedicated astronomy camera. This was taken actually with a DSLR, the Nikon D3400. So not much else to say about the image itself other than there's some inherent camera noise from the DSLR camera, so the red noise there, because it's not cool, that's why it appears there. But also, this was actually only, I think, an hour or two's worth of data. Normally, I try to collect more from my house because there's a fair amount of light pollution, but this was the last night I had before the nebula was no longer viewable as it went kind of down behind the trees. This was late March, I want to say, so. This is the only night I got to shoot it over the course of the year, but it is, however, coming back up in just about now, actually. So I'll be shooting it again here shortly. All right, moving on. Iris Nebula NGC 7023. This is 8 hours of data, taken again with the 533 MC and the 80 millimeter refractor. So there's still a lot of noise here. That's because this dust is so faint that you really got to kind of stretch it pretty hard to bring that dust out. So I could get less noise if I had, taken more data, but this is still a fair amount of data, and I was still kind of learning. I think I just wanted to make the image at that point. So I could also this was also not processed in PixInsight, so I could probably go back and get some of that noise out of there. But fun fact about this image, I also learned when I was processing that there's a little yellow blob here, and I was like, what's that? Turns out there's another little nebula next to the Iris Nebula here, so just kind of a cool little hidden object in the foreground there. But so all this surrounding brown blobs that you see, that's all dust, and there's lots of dust in this particular region of space, and it'd be cool to see. I might do another future project that shows more of that in the future. All right, here's Jupiter. There's a couple different images here that I'm going to show of Jupiter. This is probably the best one that I captured, just because the seeing was the best that I happened to get this year. Features, of course, the Great Red Spot. Yeah, not much to say about that. Taken with, of course, the C9.25 big telescope. If you zoom in here, you can kind of see there's some noise here. And again, if the seeing is really good, these details get even sharper. So there is possibility to get an even better capture. But, of course, this one still turned out pretty good. All right, same here. Very similar capture. This was taken on a different night, however, and it shows a different face. As you can see here, there's another spot here. Forget the name of it. It's got a name, but I don't remember what it is. So yeah, same telescope, same camera for that image as well. Next image. That's me, not space. So this I did put in my video compilation. So it's in the slideshow here. So I had to take the corrector plate off of my telescope here. So the corrector plate is a piece of glass that goes over the front here. And I dreaded having to do it, but I had to do it because the secondary housing, the secondary mirror housing was loose. And it came that way when I bought it. I bought it used. And it was giving me all sorts of troubles with trying to do planetary images. I was really bummed about it, but I had to just suck it up and learn how to do it. So in the process, I took this goofy picture of me, and someone also actually took this picture and made it spin. So there's a image of that out there somewhere. I'll have to see if I can share that in a future video, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, just a funny picture that I took. All right, moving on. Here's another Jupiter. This is a time-lapse animation that includes the moons Io and Callisto. So this is about 10 hours, or excuse me, 1 hour. Jupiter rotates in about 10 hours, so it rotates a lot faster than the Earth does. And cool thing about this, it also includes Callisto, and Callisto is normally way off of the frame just because it's so much farther away from Jupiter. Io shows it fairly often because it's pretty close, but Callisto, like I said, normally doesn't appear this close because, like I said, it's way off to the left or to the right. So it was kind of cool to get this in the shot, and it kind of gives frame of reference to the motion or the orbiting or the spinning of the planet, which I thought was really cool. And this is the resulting still frame from the previous time-lapse animation, but just stacked into a single image, again featuring the Great Red Spot and Io. Unfortunately, Callisto is not in the frame, like I said, just because it can only stack kind of the central image here. But so this is what Io looks like a little bit more up close. That's the actual color, but it is stretched a little bit unnaturally, and that's due to WinJupos derotation. So when we process this image, we use a software called WinJupos, which takes the rotation and kind of like aligns it so that we get a little bit more detail. And in the as a result of that, it's kind of stretched Io a little bit. Like I said, it kind of looks like a potato, which is kind of funny. All right, moving on. This is just the same three previous pictures, but I just put them into a single image for the video compilation. All right, M13, the Great Globular Cluster in Hercules. They're not super exciting, the globular clusters, but we were doing an image challenge, so I had to pick one for the astronomy club, and so this is the one that I did because it's the easiest one. It's the brightest and the biggest. So, yeah, not much else to say about it. One thing I will point out, though, if you zoom in, you can see there's some kind of a noise pattern here in the background. That's if you're using Deep Sky Stacker, sometimes it doesn't do a very good job of stacking some of the details as well. So I think that's actually a result of Deep Sky Stacker. There's some weird kind of noise there in the background. With Serial, can't really get that noise out. With PixInsight, I probably could, but didn't bother. There is also, of course, a little bonus galaxy over here off to the left. I think there's another one in this frame too, but I'm not going to bother to go find it. All right, M16, the Eagle Nebula, as you can tell by the shape. However, this is also known as the Pillars of Creation. If you zoom way in here, there you can see the Pillars of Creation as made famous by Hubble. So there's a cool story about this particular picture. This was actually taken, this is the only one of the images that was not taken from my house. This was actually taken from Three Bears Acres, so a lot less light pollution. And this was actually taken at an astronomy club meet, so there was other people out there in the field with me here. And this is only 2 hours worth of data. So all the other images that you've seen so far, most of them were, on average, I'd say probably about 8 hours. This one's only 2. And that just kind of goes to show the effect that light pollution has on imaging and just deep space objects in general. So with only 2 hours of data, this turned out really, really great. It's a pretty bright nebula from what I understand, but either way, like I said, turned out super great. So super happy with that. And like I said, features the Pillars of Creation. Kind of cool. All right. Andromeda Galaxy M31. So this was one of my first big projects, and it's actually 2 panels. So there's a left panel and a right panel stitched together. So this is a total 9 hours each on each panel, a total of 18 hours. And despite that, I was super disappointed with this image because if you know anything about Andromeda Galaxy, this is one of the few objects that is actually moving towards us. So most objects in space, as the universe expands, are actually moving away from us, and as a result, those objects are what we call redshifted. So their light is shifted into the more red part of the spectrum due to the Doppler effect, due to the expanding universe. But this object, Andromeda Galaxy, is actually moving towards us, so as a result, it is actually blue shifted, which is really cool. But as you can see here, there's not a lot of blue in this particular image. If you look at other images of Andromeda, you'll see, especially around the edge of the galaxy, it has a very bluish hue. And again, that's mostly a result of it moving towards us and shifting the light into the blue part of the spectrum. So there's reasons for that I won't get into. I'll, again, just likely try again in the future. But yeah, I was really disappointed I didn't get any blue in this image. There is a little bit kind of up here, as well as like a little bit of nebula and stuff, which is kind of cool. But still turned out okay. But like I said, I personally was disappointed with it, but hopefully you found it appealing. All right. Now, this one I was able to bring out the blue within the nebula. This is a different galaxy. This is M33, the Triangulum Galaxy. And this, I believe, is also actually a little bit blue shifted. It's in our local group of galaxies, so it's moving towards us as well, I think. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong on that. But it's still pretty bright nearby galaxy. This is 17 hours of data, so still quite a bit of data, and that also allowed me to bring out some of the cool colors in the galaxy here. So I'll just zoom in and kind of show you some of the details. All these little kind of spots, those are all kind of nebula within the galaxy, and this one down here has its own designation. This is NGC 602. And it is absurdly bright. It almost appears to be it's a star, but it is not. It is a nebula in the galaxy M33, which is kind of insane. Strongly encourage you to look that up on Wikipedia. Hubble has actually imaged that galaxy. It's super teeny tiny, and Hubble has done a pretty decent job of actually getting kind of some of the details in this galaxy, or in this nebula in M33, which is really insane that we're studying nebula in another galaxy. So really cool image. All right, M45, the Pleiades. So fun fact, if you haven't actually, you have probably actually seen this object with your naked eye. It's these really bright stars here. Now, you don't see all the nebulosity, of course, without a camera or a telescope, but this is about 9 hours of integration, so not a ton, but still a fair amount. And yeah, not much else to say about it. This is reflection nebula, so generally reflection nebula you shoot when the moon is not out, because the moon kind of washes out reflection nebula pretty easily. So yeah, all the blue color that you get is really from, again, the starlight is literally kind of shining off of the dust that you see here. And so there's more dust down here that you see in the bottom of the frame, and you can kind of see it up here as well. There's some really cool dust that kind of surrounds this whole region of space, and I think in a future project I may try to shoot some of that dust because it's cool. All right, here's M101 again, but this is a before and after comparison. I didn't put them in order on the slideshow, no biggie. So this image was taken on May 6th. As you can see here, there is no supernova, and then it was discovered May 19th, the supernova, and it was making space headlines, and I was like, oh, I was just shooting that object, so shot it again, and sure enough, there it is, a big bright star that is again a supernova in another galaxy. Kind of insane. This is one of the few times that we will probably witness something like this during our lifetime. Supernovas do occur occasionally. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll witness a couple more. But in another galaxy, it's pretty rare, especially for us to see. So, really cool. All right, this is the Elephant Trunk Nebula. Not much to say about this. I will say this is not actually, so green does not actually naturally occur in space. So the green that you see here is actually from the camera. So there's the camera has what's called a de-Bayer pattern, and in regular cameras there's 2 green pixels for every red and blue pixel. So there's a little bit of a green cast of this image, and basically I just didn't do a very good job of removing the green cast. So naturally this is actually a little bit more red and blue in color, but there's a little bit of green left over there, but still kind of turned out pretty cool. So I just kind of left it as is and shared it. So that's the Elephant Trunk Nebula, which is actually kind of what this portion is right there. That's where it gets its namesake from. All right, this is NGC 7000, the North America Nebula. So this is a huge object. It's like 10 times bigger than the moon or something like that. And this is kind of the bottom portion of it. This is the Cygnus wall portion is kind of what we call this. So this kind of looks like a wall. It's in the constellation of Cygnus, which is why we call it the Cygnus wall. Kind of has lots of different kind of components to it. So there's like a dark nebula region here, an emission nebula region, and like I said, there's more to this nebula up above the top of the frame there. So made a really cool full frame shot there. All right, here's some various Saturns taken from different dates here. I'll just share the middle one first. That's the sharpest one, I think, with the best seeing conditions. And to the left here, that's Mimas, little tiny moon, and Tethys, slightly larger moon. Both of those have been bumped up in brightness so that you can actually see them. They do appear in the telescope, but sometimes in the camera, because Saturn is so bright, you kind of got to tone it down a little bit. So you got to retroactively kind of go back and bump the brightness a little bit. So technically that's a little bit artificial, but it's fun to have the moons in there, so why not? Same thing over here, different night, a little less good seeing, so you can see it's not quite as sharp as this one. Different moon. This one I probably made a little bit too big. That's probably a little bigger than it's actually represented by in terms of scale of the planet. Like I said, not quite as sharp, but still pretty good. And another one over here on the right. This one, this one does not feature any moons. Just all by itself. It's 3 different Saturns. All right, here's 2 galaxies, M81 and M82. This is Bode's galaxy on the right. This one's super pretty. Gotta love it. I didn't capture as much data as I probably should have on these particular objects. So again, there's a fair amount of noise here, not a whole lot of sharpness on some of the details. In M82, this is the Cigar galaxy. If you look at good images of this, you can see there's like bright kind of like red, almost like lightning bolts or tendrils kind of coming out from the galaxy. And then with some more data, I'm sure I could capture those, but this is what I was kind of stuck with. So again, you can kind of see there's a fair amount of noise in the background as well. Again, kind of left over from Deep Sky Stacker. So, but also again, I didn't get as much data on these as I probably should have as well. All right, one more image here. This is Uranus and Neptune, of course. So not much to say about these. Honestly, I just love being able to see the color in the scope and in the images. So, yeah, not sure what else to say about them, really. This is also Triton over here on the right side, which is, if anything, that's actually probably my favorite part of these particular images, that you can see one of the moons of Neptune, the brightest one, of course. Again, brightness definitely enhanced a little bit there in the frame. It's a lot dimmer than that, but you can still, it's actually, I'm not sure I was able to see that one in the eyepiece, but with the camera, with the help of the camera, you can kind of fake it, I guess. So I did also include the wireframes here as well to kind of show the orientation of the planets, though, because of course they don't have much apparent detail, so it's kind of hard to tell exactly what kind of frame of reference you're getting on the planet. So like I said, I love the colors. That's really kind of my favorite part of these 2 images. So all right, and like I said, that's the last one. So thanks for checking out these images. Thanks for watching. Hope you got some cool details, learned a little bit about how I take these images, learned a little bit about space and whatnot. So again, for you nerds out there. And yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions for me or anything like that, there's a link in the description below to my Discord. If you want to ask me questions, or if you just want to say thanks or whatever, just come say hi and feel free to join the Discord. And yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. See you in a future video. Peace.